Shocking revelation. My brother's date night ruined by a 1 million necklace. Now what happens? It was the kind of night that sparkled. The kind of night where you thought everything was perfect. My brother Jake was gearing up for his big date with Emma, the girl he'd been swooning over for months. A tall, handsome guy like him, he wanted everything to be flawless. Little did he know the universe had other plans. Enter the necklace, the shocking centerpiece of our story. $1 million lying right there, glimmering and beckoning disaster. As Jake slipped on that designer suit, a wave of excitement washed over him. The room smelled like fresh cologne and nervous anticipation. He went all out, complete with polished shoes that reflected his jittery smile. Emma had no idea what was coming, and neither did he. But he should have. A brief flicker of the lights briefly caught his eye, swiftly snuffed out, casting shadows that whispered secrets and deceit. The moment they stepped into the upscale restaurant, the atmosphere crackled with tension. The waiters glided between tables while couples leaned in closer, sharing whispers and secrets of their own. But right there in the center of it all was Patricia, a society matron known for her scandalous adventures and a sharp tongue. She clutched that necklace, her eyes narrowing with delight as she caught Jake's gaze. The gleaming necklace draped around her neck looked almost alive, like a predator ready to pounce. The air thickened as Jake noticed the necklace, his throat tightening like a noose. No way, he breathed out, disbelief coursing through him. The whispers grew louder around them. What was that doing here? Was it just a coincidence? Or did the cosmos really have it out for them tonight? Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. And then a crash. Chatter erupted into chaos as the necklace seemed to glow ominously, almost like a beacon of disaster. Patricia's laughter rang out, jarring and loud, as heads turned sharply toward them. Fear settled like a lead weight in Jake's stomach. Did she really just flaunt that thing? His palms began to sweat. Had they just crossed the line? With a look of horror on his face, Jake leaned closer to Emma, whispering frantically, "We need to get out of here. Now." But it was too late. The storm had begun, and they were right in its path. What would happen next? Would the necklace's dark secrets unravel their perfect night? Or could they escape before it all fell apart? The answer loomed, shrouded in uncertainty, leaving Jake fighting against a wave of dread he couldn't shake. Jake's heart raced, each beat a reminder of how quickly the night had veered into nightmare territory. The noise around them swirled, a mix of clinking glasses, startled gasps, and hushed whispers, all focusing on the spectacle that had suddenly unfolded. Patricia, ever the queen of drama, was dimpling her cheeks with laughter, clearly enjoying the pandemonium she had caused. "Jake, what's wrong?" Emma asked, her brow furrowing as she glanced between him and the chaos. She looked so innocent, so oblivious, and it made Jake's stomach churn. The last thing he wanted was to tarnish the glimmer of hope that had come with the evening. This was supposed to be about them, not this whatever this was. There's something about that necklace, Emma. It's bad news, I can feel it. His voice was tinged with urgency, desperation clawing at him as he pulled her closer. Just then, Patricia strolled over, that insufferable grin plastered across her face. "Oh darling, don't be so glum. It's just a little fun." She stepped closer, the necklace shining like a sinister star in a blackened sky. Jake swallowed hard. "You have no idea what that necklace means, do you?" "Meaning? Only that it gives me unparalleled taste," she exclaimed, tossing her hair back defiantly. But Jake could see the flicker of unease creep into her eyes. Was it just a moment of doubt or fear? Emma's grip tightened around his arm. "What do you mean? Patricia, where did you get that necklace?" Jake pressed, his breathing shallow. The neck bead wasn't just a costly accessory. It carried a dark history in its shiny facets. Whispers of stolen fortunes, blackmail, and even a rumored curse trailed along with it. He could only hope she was ignorant, hope that this wasn't a weapon in a game he didn't want to play. "Oh, you know," she said, casual, but a wry smile wove itself into her words. "Just from the last charity auction." Or maybe it was inherited from some old rich widow? Or maybe it's stolen. He blurted out, anger bubbling as he struggled to contain the chaos that threatened to spiral from an unassuming dinner into something far more sinister. The crowd shifted, anticipation and shock in the air. Jake spotted familiar faces from their lives, friends, acquaintances, and now involved witnesses. The glances, the wide eyes, the whole restaurant was tuned into their escalating drama. Patricia laughed again, this time with a hint of malice. You watch too many movies, dear. But do keep guessing. So entertaining. Suddenly, without warning, the lights flickered and faded momentarily. In that deep shadow, Jake caught sight of a figure slipping out the back door, a man in a dark suit, his movements sharp and deliberate. He didn't seem like a patron. He was trouble. There. Somebody else leaving. Jake pointed, but he could see only confusion across the faces that looked on. Jake let us just go, Emma insisted, tugging him towards the exit, but his feet felt rooted. The earlier thrill of love had twisted into an icy fear, gripping his heart. If they're connected, what will they do? We can't just walk away. His resolve hardened. Whoever had that necklace wanted it back, and if they believed Jake knew anything, he and Emma could be in grave danger. As they moved toward the exit, Jake took one last look at Patricia, who stood there wearing her necklace like a crown, a queen drawing the eyes of her subjects. The tension crackled in the air, like an approaching storm. I won't let this night end without answers, he vowed under his breath, determination fueling his steps as they dashed toward their only chance of escape. But outside, under the moonlight, a more pressing danger loomed ahead. Was it a safe haven? Or a hunting ground? As they stepped out, a dark silhouette emerged from the shadows, and the unmistakable glint of a blade caught the pale light. Would they ever be free from the chaos of that cursed necklace? Or had they just unleashed something they couldn't contain? The night was far from over, and danger was now only a breath away. The cold night air bit at their skin as Jake and Emma stepped outside, the brightness of the moon juxtaposed with the encroaching dread. The figure loomed closer, the blade catching the light like a snake's flicker, threatening and poised to strike. Stay behind me, Jake whispered, instinct pulling him into a protective stance. Emma's breath hitched. He felt her fear match his own, a shared urgency thickening the air between them. The man in the dark suit advanced, his features shrouded under the brim of his hat. You shouldn't have interfered. His voice was low, smooth as velvet but underlined with menace. The restaurant's laughter and clinking glasses faded into the distance. All that remained was the pulse of their fear in the silence that stretched taut around them. I don't know what you want, Jake said, forcing confidence into his tone. Whatever's going on, it's between you and Patricia. He couldn't believe those words had escaped his lips, an attempt to protect her over himself and Emma. But the necklace had tied them all together in a way he wished they could break. The man chuckled, the sound dark and ominous. You really think she's the one in control here? That's cute. He gestured toward the restaurant, where the feigned merriment masked a growing tension. She's just part of the game. What game? Emma asked, her voice trembling but defiant. The same game that has your lives hanging by a thread, he replied, his eyes narrowing into slits. And you're already playing whether you like it or not. Before Jake could respond, the man lunged forward, blade glinting under the moonlight. Jake pushed Emma to the side as he instinctively dodged, adrenaline surging through his limbs. The knife sliced through the air where he had just been standing, its metallic hiss ringing in his ears. Run! He yelled, grabbing Emma's arm and sprinting toward the street, the heat of their panic fueling every step. His heart pounded in his chest, an erratic drum echoing warnings of the danger trailing them. But danger wasn't just behind them. As they reached the street, Jake skidded to a halt, taking in the scene before him. The dark-suited figure was not alone. More shadows emerged from the darkness, men in matching attire circling like vultures, all with the same cold glint in their eyes. It's too late to escape, one of them taunted, his voice smooth but condescending. You should have kept out of it, Jake. Now you'll see how far the tendrils reach, how tightly the grip holds. What do you want from us? Jake demanded, desperation clawing at his throat. This is about the necklace, isn't it? The man closest to him stepped forward, a slow smirk spreading across his lips. It was never just about the necklace. It's about what it represents. Power. Control. And now, It's about you too. Emma stepped up beside him, a stubborn flame igniting in her eyes. We're not afraid of you. Is that so? The man's voice dripped with amusement, but it was clear this was not a game for him. You have until midnight to return it. Because if you don't, let us just say the stakes will get higher, and the consequences will be severe. Jake turned his gaze to Emma, 1,000 questions shared in a moment. The palpable tension spiraled around them, weaving a web of uncertainty. They had only seconds to decide their next move. To find their way out of a nightmare escalated into a threat they never anticipated as the dark figures faded back into the shadows. Their warnings lingered like smoke in the night air. Time was ticking, and the necklace was unexpected danger. We have to get the truth from Patricia, Jake said, breathless. She's the only one who knows what we're dealing with. But what if she was more entangled in this web than they thought? What if she was a player in a game too deadly for amateurs? The night was full of secrets and the clock was already ticking down. What awaited them when they confronted Patricia again, an ally or their greatest foe? Would they unlock answers, or would they only find more perilous questions? They took off down the street, the echo of their hurried footsteps drowned by the pulsing rhythm of the world around them. Jake's mind raced, piecing together the threads of a puzzle that was quickly unraveling. Patricia had the answers, they had to find her. Where do you think she is? Emma asked, her voice shaky but determined. If we go back to the restaurant. No, Jake interrupted, scanning the shadows, wary of lurking threats. We can't go there. Not now. We need somewhere safe. They rounded a corner and ducked behind a parked car. Out of sight but still vulnerable. Jake's heart thudded violently in his chest. I just can't shake the feeling. What if Patricia's in deeper than we realize? Emma glanced at him, concern washing over her features. What do you mean? He swallowed hard, recalling Patricia's cryptic actions, her secretive whispers. What if she's involved with those men? What if she sent us on this wild goose chase? No, Emma said, shaking her head. She wouldn't do that. Would she? The uncertainty in her voice twisted Jake's stomach. Was his desire to trust Patricia leading them into a trap? They couldn't afford any missteps, not with the clock ticking down to midnight. Let us find somewhere to regroup, he said firmly. We can think better if we're not on the run. They found a dimly lit cafe on the corner, the kind that stayed open late to cater to night owls, the aroma of fresh coffee mingling with the air. Inside, they settled into a booth, their bodies thrumming with adrenaline but cloaked in an uneasy calm. What do we do now? Emma asked, sipping her coffee as she tried to steady her trembling hands. Look, we need to confront her. But maybe we should go in with our eyes open. Ask the right questions, Jake suggested, his voice barely above a whisper, knowing they were still vulnerable. And the necklace? Emma asked, biting her lip. What if it's not just a necklace? What if it's part of something bigger? Jake nodded, remembering the words of the man. Power, control. Those words clawed at his mind like fingernails against a chalkboard. We need to know what it represents, and how it ties into all this. As if summoned by their conversation, Jake's phone buzzed on the table. His pulse quickened. A text from an unknown number. Midnight's approaching. I hope you're prepared for the truth. His grip tightened around the device, sweat forming on his brow. It's them, he said, eyes wide with fear. They know we're still looking. What do we do? Emma's voice was barely audible. Jake's mind raced, contemplating the urgency of the situation. We go to Patricia, he said, resolve hardening in his chest. But on our terms. We can't show weakness. As they walked out of the cafe, the oppressive weight of the night surrounded them once more. The streets felt darker, the shadows deeper, as they made their way back toward the restaurant. With every step, the stakes heightened, the danger breathing down their necks. Suddenly, a chill ran down Jake's spine as he turned a corner and saw them again, figures in dark suits, waiting just outside the restaurant. Their eyes locked onto him, cold and predatory. Now or never, he muttered under his breath, knowing that every moment wasted could lead to dire consequences. Emma squeezed his hand, and he felt her resolve alongside his own. They were diving back into a fire they barely understood. As they approached, the leader of the dark-suited men stepped forward, a sinister smile creeping across his face. Did you think we would let you get away so easily, Jake? You missed our deadline. Jake's heart raced. We're not afraid of you, he declared, surprised at his own boldness. Then tonight will be interesting, the man replied, his eyes gleaming with a mixture of menace and amusement. Every choice you make has a price. Let us see how far you're willing to go. Just then Jake felt a sudden rush of dread. He had no idea what lay ahead, only a looming darkness shrouded in secrets and dangers. Ready for the truth? The man taunted, and everything shifted in that instant. Would they emerge with answers, or would they be pulled deeper into this twisted game? The night was far from over, and the chilling uncertainty loomed like a specter waiting to strike. Jake's gaze darted to Emma, whose wide eyes reflected a mixture of fear and determination. They stood at the precipice of something much bigger than they had ever anticipated. The suave man in the suit leaned closer, his breath tinged with arrogance, making the hairs on the back of Jake's neck stand on end. What do you want? Jake demanded, forcing his voice steady. The man's smile widened, revealing two perfect teeth. Oh, it's not what I want, but what you both need to understand. He gestured behind him, and the other men, his enforcers, shifted slightly, blocking the entrance like silent sentinels. I'm offering you a choice, the man continued, his voice smooth as silk. You can join us. Help us find that necklace and discover what it truly represents, or, well, let's just say the clock is ticking. Ticking for what? Emma shot back, her defiance buoying Jake's courage. Midnight is the limit for our interests here, the man replied, leaning back slightly, enjoying the moment. If that necklace I sent in our hands by then. He let the words hang in the air, heavy with implications. Jake clenched his jaw. We want to be your pawns. We'll find Patricia on our own terms. Ah, but therein lies the crux of the issue. The man's tone turned serious, his gaze darkening. Patricia is in a precarious position, one you should consider very carefully. If you don't play this right, she might just disappear before the night's over. Jake felt the world tilt on its axis. What do you mean by that? The man's laugh sent chills down Jake's spine. Let us just say some debts are best collected in blood. The urgency in his voice cut through Jake's bravado. He exchanged a glance with Emma, who was clearly grappling with their options. We don't have time for games, Emma said, her tone raw with emotion. If Patricia is in danger, we need to act now. Very astute, the man replied, folding his arms, clearly intrigued by her passion. But know this. The deeper you go, the less you'll like what you find. Jake felt a lump in his throat. The night seemed to darken further around them. The stakes were higher than he had imagined. Let her go, and you won't regret it. Regret? The man asked, tilting his head. That's the charm of this world, Jake. Regret is a luxury no one can afford. Emma pulled on his arm, urgency even more palpable now. Jake, we have to go. We have to find Patricia. In that moment, Jake knew they were standing on a tightrope, balancing between fear and resolve. The time was slipping away, and he couldn't shake the feeling that every second spent here brought them closer to a point of no return. Let us go, he said to Emma, adrenaline flooding his veins. They turned, moving quick and brisk, their hearts pounding not just with fear, but with a raw, burning determination. But as they approached the exit, one of the suit-clad men obstructed their path. You think it's that easy? He said, voice low and dangerous. You're in this now, and there's no turning back. With the urgency of the moment pressing down like a suffocating weight, Jake felt a spark of rebellion ignite inside him. We'll find Patricia. We'll find the truth. And just as they slipped out of the door into the street, a scream shattered the air behind them, the unmistakable sound of chaos erupting from the restaurant. What now? Emma gasped, breathless. But Jake's thoughts raced. They couldn't process one shock before another crashed over them. They had made their choice, and now the world was unraveling around them. Would they manage to save Patricia in time? Or was this just the beginning of their descent into a dangerous game they didn't fully comprehend? As they dashed down the street, every shadow seemed to pulse with life, a reminder with each heartbeat that they were being hunted. What's next? Where do we go? Emma panted, desperation creeping into her voice as they rounded yet another corner. The answer hung heavy in the air between them, the realization dawning that this was merely the beginning of an ominous path where every decision could seal their fates. The truth awaited, but so did the darkness. What were they willing to sacrifice to uncover it? The streets blurred around them as Jake and Emma sprinted, each footfall echoing their racing hearts. The chaos from the restaurant faded, replaced by an oppressive silence that felt even more suffocating. Every passerby seemed oblivious to the gravity of their situation, lost in their own worlds while Jake and Emma were thrust into a nightmare they didn't fully understand. "We need a plan," Jake hissed, glancing over his shoulder as if expecting the suited men to emerge from the shadows. There was a cold knot in his stomach, tightening with every passing second. "Do you have any idea where Patricia might be?" Emma shook her head, her breath coming in quick pants. "We need to find someone who knows. Someone connected to the necklace." "No more chasing shadows or playing their games," he replied, biting back frustration. "We need facts. Something we can work with." Just then a flicker of movement caught Jake's eye. A figure emerging from a darkened alleyway. He stopped short, grasping Emma's arm tightly. "Wait," he said, narrowing his eyes. The figure inched closer, a woman with disheveled hair and wild eyes. There was something oddly familiar about her, a spark of recognition igniting in him. "Jake," she gasped, her voice trembling. "It's me, Lila. I followed you. I overheard them. You have to listen to me." "Lila, what are you doing here?" Emma asked, shock evident in her tone. "The necklace," Lila whispered, her expression shifting from fear to urgency. "I know where it is, but it's hiding a lot more than you can imagine. You can't just take it back. It's a trap." "What do you mean?" Jake asked, confusion tightening around his chest. "The necklace isn't just jewelry. It's cursed or something worse," Lila stammered. "People have gone missing trying to retrieve it, including Patricia." "Missing?" Emma's voice trembled as her eyes widened, a flicker of panic crossing her face. "What do you know?" "I can help," Lila insisted, stepping closer. "But we have to act fast. They're watching us. If they catch wind that I'm talking to you," her voice trailed off, fear lacing her words. Jake exchanged a glance with Emma, making an unspoken decision. "Where do we find this necklace?" Lila nodded, gesturing for them to follow her. "There's a safe house, an abandoned warehouse in an industrial area. It's risky, but it's the only lead we have." "Let us there," Jake instructed, adrenaline igniting his resolve. They moved into the shadows, Lila leading them down winding alleyways, each corner bending around more danger. The air crackled with tension, amplifying every whisper of wind, every scuff of their shoes against cracked pavement. Moments turned into an eternity as they approached the dilapidated building. "This is it," Lila said, hesitating at the entrance. "But be careful. There are others who will do anything to keep that necklace hidden. Trust no one." Jake's mind reeled. Would this lead them to Patricia? Or to a trap that would seal their fate? He turned to Emma, feeling the weight of his decision settle heavily on his shoulders. "Are you ready for this?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. She breathed deeply, nodding slowly. "We don't have a choice." Just before they stepped inside, a loud crash echoed from within, followed by a man's roar. The sound churned Jake's stomach. This was it. Everything hinged on what they might find inside, and if they were prepared for the truth. But as they pushed through the door, anticipation clawed at their throats. Were they about to uncover the reality about Patricia or walk straight into their worst nightmare? The darkness ahead beckoned ominously, and with each step, they were dragged deeper into the unknown. The air inside the warehouse was thick, weighted with the scent of rust and something else, an underlying stench of fear. Jake instinctively reached for Emma's hand, squeezing it for reassurance. A single flickering bulb swung overhead, casting eerie shadows that danced across crumbling walls. "What was that noise?" Emma whispered, her voice barely audible over the thudding of their hearts. Lila led the way, her ragged breaths quickening as they moved cautiously past rows of empty crates. "It's never quiet here. They might already be inside." Jake exchanged worried glances with Emma. "Who are they? And what are we walking into?" "Gang members. They're after the same thing," Lila replied, her eyes darting around. "But it's not just criminals. There are people who want that necklace for other reasons. Dangerous ones." Before they could digest her words, a low murmur broke through the silence, followed by a sharp laugh that sent a chill down Jake's spine. He glanced at Lila, whose face had turned pale. "Let us hurry," she urged, moving faster now. "The back office should be just ahead." They made their way deeper into the building, each creak of the floorboards amplifying the tension that had settled over them. Jake caught glimpses of flickering light spilling from a room at the far end, and just beyond it, a faint silhouette, a tall figure loomed, shrouded in darkness. Emma's grip tightened around Jake's arm. What if they see us? Jake opened his mouth to respond, but the words were caught in his throat. Deep down he feared what that figure could mean for them. He instinctively pushed Emma behind him, adopting a protective stance. Stay back, he urged, hoping to conceal their presence while moving closer to the door. As they inched forward, Jake strained his ears to catch their conversation. That necklace is the key. A voice hissed. Without it, we'll never find him. A throat-clearing sound cut through the air, followed by another response, this time gruff. Keep your voice down. If the others find out, we won't have a chance. Jake's heart raced, each thud echoing in his ears. Who are they talking about? He muttered. Lila peeked through a crack in the door and her eyes widened. I think it's Patricia. They have her. What? Jake's stomach twisted. We have to do something. No, Lila said firmly. If we rush in now, it could end badly for all of us. We need a plan. Just as they turned to discuss their next move, a crashing sound erupted from the entrance they had just come through, sending a shockwave of terror through them. The large door shuddered as it was kicked open, revealing a group of 5 men, all dressed in dark suits, their faces obscured by shadows. We know you're in there. One of them yelled, voice sharp and threatening. Come out and you can leave with your lives. Panic surged within Jake. Every instinct screamed that they needed to run. However, the notion of abandoning Patricia clawed at him. What do we do? He breathed, looking from Emma to Lila. Lila glanced anxiously between the doorway and the room holding Patricia. We can't let them see us. We need to find another way. As they turned to retreat, the figure from the other room stepped forward, and Jake's pulse spiked. It was a woman, a striking presence cloaked in an aura of authority. Silas, get in here. She commanded, her voice biting. Jake's eyes widened. He recognized her from the restaurant. She was the one who spoke about the necklace, the orchestrator of their nightmare. Just as he thought they had a moment to escape, the woman turned, her gaze locking with his. A sly smile crept across her lips. Did you really think you could hide? Jake felt as if the floor fell away beneath him. Fear coiled tighter around his chest, and before he could react, Lila pulled them both back into the shadows. Run! She hissed, urgency dripping from her voice. But as they raced deeper into the warehouse's bowels, Jake glanced over his shoulder, terror flooding him as he saw the woman following, not far behind. They were no longer in control of the drama playing out around them. They were just pawns in a game far more frightening than they had ever imagined. And just as they entered a back room filled with crates, Jake realized they were trapped. Heart pounding, he turned to Lila, just as a loud crash echoed through the structure again. The game wasn't over yet, not by a long shot. What now? Emma's voice trembled. Jake swallowed hard, his voice barely above a whisper. We find Patricia or we don't leave at all. But in that quiet room, a deep sense of foreboding gripped him. Would he be able to save her, or had they entered a fate they couldn't escape? The room was dim, the crates looming like ancient sentinels, and each heartbeat pounded a rhythm of fear in Jake's ears. He could feel Emma's trembling next to him, her warmth anchoring him in the chaos of the moment. Jake were cornered. Emma's voice was barely more than a whisper, but it sliced through Jake's fog of panic. He pulled her close, glancing toward the door they had just sprinted through. Not yet, Lila countered, her voice steadier than Jake felt. There has to be a way out. We just need to think. Jake's mind raced. He could hear the muffled voices of the men outside. They were closing in. Each word echoed a threat, and the sense of losing Patricia made his stomach twist in knots. We need to act fast. The creak of a door shifted his focus. A panel on the side of the room gaped slightly open, revealing a narrow maintenance shaft, dark and claustrophobic. Lila caught the faintest glint. We can fit through there, she said, urgency creeping into her tone. It might lead us out. Are you crazy? Emma said, shaking her head. We could be trapped in there. Better than being caught out here, Jake said, adrenaline coursing through him. Anyone who can follow us won't waste the chance. We have to try. Lila nodded, and without another word, she dropped to her hands and knees, scrambling toward the maintenance shaft. Come on. she urged. Jake glanced back to the door, hearing the shuffle of footsteps now. They were searching. He could almost feel their by now certain dread that they'd lose the people they sought. We go now. His voice cracked with tension. Emma hesitated, her eyes wide with fear. What if it's a dead end? A low growl from outside shook the air, and it propelled her forward. Together they squeezed into the opening, the dark space swallowing them whole. The cold metal walls hugged them tightly as they crawled, pressing forward into the unknown. Keep moving, whispered Lila, her voice practically vibrating with nerves. The tunnel was cramped, the air stale, and Jake could barely make out Emma's silhouette in front of him. Their bodies shuffled in the darkness. Sweat dripped down Jake's back. A creeping sense of claustrophobia brushed against him, but he fought against the panic. They had no choice. Suddenly, the shaft began to incline, and they found themselves sliding down an unexpectedly steep slope, scraping against rough edges. The world above faded, the threatening footsteps replaced by a deep echo. What is this? Jake shouted, feeling his voice bounce off the metal walls. An old drainage system, Lila replied, her voice a ghost in the dark. It should exit outside the warehouse eventually. Eventually? Emma murmured, panting. Fear edged her tone. Just as Jake's heart sank at the uncertainty, a bright light pierced through the tunnel ahead, and he felt a rush of hope. But as they neared the source, a chilling realization snaked through him. The light wasn't just sunshine. It shimmered with an unnatural brightness. Get ready, he urged, his heart racing again. We might be walking straight into danger. The opening widened, and they spilled out into a vast underground chamber glittering with flickering neon lights. It resembled a makeshift club, thrumming with bass and energy that pulsed like a heartbeat. A crowd of people danced obliviously, unaware of the dangers lurking just outside this space of euphoria. But Jake felt the tension spike again. It wasn't just people. He spotted the men from the warehouse, their dark suits contrasting sharply against the colorful chaos. They were scanning the room, their expressions full of anger and purpose, and that moment, they were not just running from the men, they were stepping right into the lioness. As he caught Emma's gaze, Jake felt the weight of what lay ahead. We need to find Patricia and get out before they notice us here. But just as they plotted their next move, the distinctive voice of the woman from before pierced through the music, silencing the air around them. Patricia's here. I know you're with her and I'll find you. Jake's breath caught, a mix of fear and fury, building in his chest. They had slipped out of the warehouse, yet the real danger was just beginning. Emerging from the depths they had thought they could escape. Run! Lila shouted, her eyes wide with terror. The crowd pulsed around them, but Jake knew they had no choice. They had to keep moving or they'd never escape this nightmare. Which one of them would fall prey next? The moment they broke from the shadows of the maintenance shaft, the music of the underground chamber crashed over them like a tidal wave, drowning their whispered fears. Dancers writhed in a euphoric state, oblivious to the storm brewing on the fringes of their party. Jake's heart pounded in sync with the heavy bass, a desperate drum urging him to act. Stick together, he shouted over the thumping beats. He grabbed Emma's hand, feeling her pulse racing against his. Lila was already maneuvering through the crowd, her eyes darting, searching. Where's Patricia? Emma gasped, her breath catching. I don't know. Jake replied, frustration bubbling. Look for her, she has to be here somewhere. They moved through the crowd, a sea of flashing lights and twisting bodies. Each face seemed unfamiliar. Every laugh became a taunt. The suits were still scanning the crowd, their presence looming like a storm cloud. They'll notice us soon, Jake urged. Lila suddenly stopped. Over there. She pointed toward a semi-hidden alcove just past the dance floor, where the light flickered uncertainly. As they closed in, frantic hope mingled with the bitter taste of fear. The escape would only be real if they found Patricia. They approached the alcove and Jake's heart sank at the sight. A figure, a woman, unmistakably Patricia, was pinned against the wall by a large man in a dark suit. Furiously, he leaned into her, blocking her escape as she struggled. Let her go, Jake shouted, adrenaline coursing through him. Patricia's gaze flicked to them, wide and alarmed. Jake, Emma, get out of here. Her plea was laced with urgency, but it grew drowned in the chaos surrounding them. Grab her. We don't have time, Lila shouted, her voice breaking through the pounding music. Jake surged forward, but the man from the warehouse shot a warning glare. "You shouldn't have come here," he growled, a cruel smile twisting his features. Then he turned, pinning Patricia's arms firmly against the wall. In an instant, a jarring tension filled Jake's chest. "Get away from her!" he yelled, but other partygoers swarmed, paying no mind to the brewing violence just feet away. With his chin set and resolve hardening, Jake pushed through the throng, adrenaline sparking wild in his veins. Suddenly the burly man turned, a fist raised threateningly as a desperate Patricia took her chance and pushed back fiercely. She managed to break away, just as Jake reached them. He wrapped an arm around Patricia's waist, yanking her clear of the man's grasp. "Run!" he shouted, their exit now fraught with danger. But just then a piercing scream cut through the music. Another figure caught Jake's attention, a woman, caught in the grips of the suited goons like a fly in a spider's web. "Please, help me," she cried, her fear palpable amidst the raucous crowd. Jake hesitated. "We can't leave her. We have to," Emma insisted, pulling on his arm. The urgency in her voice mingled with the panic in his heart. "There's too many of them." Lila's own voice trembled. Glancing back toward the men forming a wall at the entrance, Patricia's eyes burned with defiance. "We can't turn our backs on her, Jake. Not again." But in weighing danger against morality, Jake felt frozen. They were already risking everything. The uncertainty hung heavily, threatening to pull them under. As they kept moving closer to the exit, he locked eyes with Emma, fear mingling with the hope in her gaze. Jake clenched his fists. "What if we fight? We could save her." As he turned back to the crowd, the echoes of the past made him hesitate. Would saving a stranger lead them to even greater peril? They had already lost so much with the suited men closing in. The crowd's high spirits clashed against the dark reality of their situation. "Now!" Lila yelled, thrusting her arm forward. Just as a surge of adrenaline ignited a potential plan in Jake's mind, the bass dropped in the music, momentarily shimmering into silence. "Where do you think you're going?" echoed a cold voice from behind them. Jake's stomach dropped. The chilling tone belonged to the woman, the one who had been chasing them. With dread creeping back into his heart, Jake felt the weight of impending doom tugging at him. The moment had come, but would they stand and fight or turn and flee? As the room held its breath around them, they would have to make the choice that could define their fate or seal their doom. Who would survive this night? Jake's heart raced as he turned to the looming shadows surrounding them. The woman had stepped forward, her gaze piercing through the haze of lights and colors. "You thought running would save you?" she taunted, a predatory smile stretching across her lips. His stomach twisted, knowing that every moment led them deeper into danger. "Stay close," he warned Emma and Lila, grasping their hands tighter. The crowd pulsed, and with each quickened heartbeat, he felt the weight of their fate resting heavier on his shoulders. They were cornered, and fear mingled with determination, sparking a flicker of defiance within him. He stepped forward, a surge of bravery rushing through him. "What do you want from us?" Jake called out, forcing his voice to remain steady despite the fear that gripped his throat. The woman's eyes danced with amusement. "Oh, my dear Jake, this is bigger than you, bigger than any of us. It's about power. The necklace is just a key, a means to an end." She motioned to the suited men, who tightened around them like wolves circling prey. "We're not afraid of you," Emma declared, her voice trembling but fierce. "You can't control us." Jake felt a surge of pride for her bravery, but reality crashed back like a wave. "Emma, don't," he began, but it was too late. The woman's laughter echoed around them, cruel and mocking. "Fear is a choice, but so is survival," the woman said, her gaze cold. "You have until midnight to hand over the necklace or you'll regret it." "Where's Patricia?" Lila interjected, her urgency piercing through the tension. "Patricia?" the woman scoffed. "She's of no importance to me. But let me assure you she's quite preoccupied." Jake's expression hardened. "If she's in danger because of you, I swear promises are meaningless in this world," the woman interrupted, eyes gleaming with malice. "You have no idea what's at stake." The crowd had begun to shift, sensing the turmoil brewing in their midst. People instinctively lured toward the edges, drawn out by the electricity in the air. But Jake stood firm, holding on to Emma and Lila, their connection fueling his courage. They were stronger together, with manic energy. A thought sparked in Jake's mind. "We have something you want," he said suddenly, voice steady and clear. He felt Emma's grip tighten, unsure of where he was going. "What are you playing at?" the woman questioned, her expression a mixture of skepticism and curiosity. "I'm talking about a deal. If Patricia means nothing, then maybe we can strike a bargain. Release her and we'll get what you want." "The necklace," he proposed, feeling adrenaline edge his voice higher. Beneath her cool demeanor, something flickered behind the woman's eyes interest. "And why would I believe a word you say?" she asked, tilting her head, clearly weighing his words. "Because you have the numbers and the setup, but we have the drive," Jake replied, throwing caution to the wind. "You want the necklace? We'll deliver, but you let her go first. You have to trust that we'll come back." A laugh escaped her lips again, but this time it was laced with intrigue rather than mocking disbelief. "You think you can just walk away once more? We'll have no choice unless you're willing to die for a necklace," Jake shot back, his heart thudding with desperation. The air thickened, tension crackling like dry leaves before a fire. Seconds felt like hours as the woman weighed his proposition. "Fine," she said finally, eyes narrowing. "But know this. If you so much as hesitate or try to back out, your little Patricia might not be so fortunate." With that, Jake nodded, determination hardening his resolve. The moment stretched thin as he could see the chaos lurking just beneath the surface, threads of danger waiting to pull them down. "Now let us get her," he urged, adrenaline pumping through his veins. Every glance exchanged between him and Emma was a silent pledge of strength. With a slight gesture, the woman stepped back, granting them space as a few of her men pushed through, clearing a path toward the alcove where Patricia was being held. A swarm of guards stood outside the shadows, men jeering, full of bravado. "You think you can fight for her?" one yelled. "You're as good as dead." Jake surged forward, determination filling his eyes. They had made their choice, and now there was no turning back. He knew they had to reach Patricia and pull her out. They had to act before their lifeline was severed. As they reached the alcove, Jake pushed ahead, the depths of his fear transforming into raw, unwavering courage. "Patricia!" he yelled, urgency bleeding into his words. But the suited man controlling her cast a menacing glance back to Jake, muscles tensed and ready to respond. "Let her go!" Jake shouted again, voice strong. Each plea drummed against the fraying edge of hope. Patricia's eyes flickered with gratitude and something deeper, fear. "You shouldn't have come," she cried. "It's dangerous." "Enough chit-chat," the suited man growled, his grip tightening around her throat. "This ends now, kid." "No," Emma shouted, a flash of bravery coursing through her. "You can't hurt her." Without thinking, she pushed past Jake and Lila, her voice ringing like a battle cry against the oppressive darkness threatening to swallow them whole. In that moment, chaos erupted. With fierce determination, Patricia broke free, slamming her heel down hard against the man's foot, making him yowl in pain. "Now go," she shouted, adrenaline coursing through her veins. Jake leapt forward, instinct driving him as he pulled Patricia along. The crowd erupted into confusion, the music crashing back into the scene like thunder, drowning out everything. They fought against the tide, eyes locked ahead, breath coming in frantic gasps, weaving through bodies whose expressions were oblivious in their revelry. "By the exit!" Lila cried out, pointing with urgency. They surged toward the door, an urgency quickly bolstered by the looming threat closing in behind. "Time's up!" the woman yelled, voice slicing through the mayhem as if the music, the people, and the world came to an abrupt halt. Jake felt the hand of fear graze the back of his neck, but he didn't look back. They pushed onward, hearts pounding, adrenaline burning. "Almost there," Emma urged, driving them faster as Jake ushered Patricia through the chaotic sea, the lights flashing like the stars above. The collective breath of the party drowned in their urgency. It was just them and freedom on the other side. And then with a final push they broke through the crowd, bursting into fresh air that hit them like a wave. "Run to the car," Patricia yelled, filled with conviction. They sprinted down the asphalt, the hum of uncertainty fading behind. What lay ahead was unknown, but they had risked everything to save one another, and forged a bond that would not easily fade. As they reached the car, Jake realized this was just the beginning of a new journey. They may have escaped the claws of danger tonight, but with the necklace's mystery hanging like a dark cloud overhead, He knew their fight was far from over. How do we break this cycle? Lila panted, her hands braced on her knees, looking up at them. Jake turned to the group, the full weight of their choices pressing against him. We shine light on the truth. We expose what this necklace truly means, what it has cost us, and ensure no one else gets caught in this chaos again. The group nodded, determination hardening their resolve. Together they climbed into the car, the engine roaring to life, symbolizing their new beginning, arms linked tightly in unity as they sped away. The night loomed behind them, empty and foreboding, but the sense of purpose igniting in their hearts turned that darkness into a palette of hope. They had escaped, but they still had a long road ahead. Now it was up to them to take it back. If you want to dive into more stories like this one, you need to subscribe immediately. This is the moment to show your support. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. We want to know what you think. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the story's wild twists. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to catch this conclusion. Your support makes all the difference.